So we're gonna call us in and call us to order. It's about 4:10. And we're officially starting. This is our joint meeting that's with the Early Education Services Policy Council along with the Brattleboro Town School Board. And so we're gonna kick it off to Jerry to go ahead and lead the EES portion of the meeting.
We're gonna start with the Secretary's report, which is our minutes from our last meeting in May.
You have copies of the minutes for them?
So the only thing that we see that we have to change would be the meeting day, because that's said the 7th on our paper.
Right, but that's what was said in the minutes, but, yeah.
Okay.
So, we don't have a quorum. So you can take the votes and then we can ratify them at our next meeting.
So, accept these.
So,
I motion to accept the minutes. Motion granted.
okay, so first you need to say you don't have a quorum.
We don't have a quorum because he's our only voting member.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to just
Go through the motions.
go through the motions and ratify them. Now we're gonna move on to the treasurer's report.
Okay, what we're going to do tonight is, the Treasurer's report is a report on the Policy Council spending. And right now, through the end of May, it's 1,800 and some change, made up of two things. $1,500 for the New England Head Start Association event that we sent two parents to. So the $1,500 is for the registration, hotel stay, and travel expenses for the two members. The other $420 is for the parent event that the Policy Council put on recently, in April at the Bird's Nest facility. And everyone had a great time. And the staff and parents worked together, and it was a great success. So we only spent $421 on that event, and it was a great success.
So motion to accept the treasurer's report. I accept the motion. Okay.
And we need a second vote.
We need a second,
Yeah.
but we're gonna just go
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
We're gonna go on to the budget report.
And the budget report, I'm going to use the monthly report that you all have, and just focus on the budget piece of that as the top. Right now, the funding amount represents half of our normal amount for the grant. We expect that they will release the second half of the funding later this summer. So right now, this is typical. We had the same thing last year. We're working on half of our budget for the first 6 months. And this shows how much we've spent of that so far. So we are spending a little bit ahead of where we should be at this point. I think that one of the things that contributes to that right now is that we are spending consistently in the area of teacher training and credentialing. We put a lot of extra into that because that's an initiative that we have started and feel strongly about. We have lots of vacancies in the early education program because the professionals are just not out there at this point. So we are supporting the apprenticeship program, and we've supported some teachers to get their licenses, and so that's something we want to do. We're glad to do it. The in-kind number, we've got 3 months under our belt, and we're $25,000 so far. So I hope to start putting a light on that in the staff newsletter to make sure that we don't lose momentum over the summer. Our biggest contributor right now, we're proud to say, is our school-to-home work that the teachers do, sending work home with the families so they can continue the school program at home with their children. And that's a great thing for us.
Motion to accept.
Motion to approve.
Okay, accept the report.
I'm going to move on to the director report, right?
Okay, I'm going to make this really brief because we have a brief meeting. And Jerry may actually add to this, but our Elk Grove Partnership Program is swimming along nicely. There is a recommendation for hire for the new teacher later on the Brattleboro Town School Board side of things. We are still looking for that Head Start teacher. And as of this morning, we have all 7 of our Head Start slots enrolled to start that program. So we're pretty excited about that.
That's sort of the 7 slots, and then the other 7 or 8 that are coming. Where are we, and how are we advertising, or how do we know when those will be filled?
We didn't have to advertise. We had 5 siblings, so we had established kind of priority to our siblings first for our 4-year-old siblings. So 5 of our 7 to 8 slots were siblings. And then people just heard, and I just finished. So then we kind of started prioritizing, and kind of a first come, first serve. So I just finalized and signed letters to be mailed home to the 14 students that were accepting, and then letters of being on a wait list to, I believe, maybe 4 or 5 other families. So.
And they're all Oak Grove families? No. 4 or 5 other.
4 or 5 other, right, other community members. So, the thought is we have a classroom of 14 4-year-olds for next year. Some of them will remain at the siblings will automatically remain here at Oak Grove, and then the others will kind of be go back into our distribution of how we assign students to area, to like Academy or Green Street. Some may stay at Oak Grove as well, but we'll see. So right now we have a full house.
In the beginning, when we were advertising the opportunity on the ES side of things, we had some families who were reluctant because they were concerned about losing summer care next summer. And so we shifted and decided that we would offer extended school after summer care next summer at Canal Street for those Head Start children who are attending who really need that. And the suggestion has been presented that we offer that to the non-Head Start families as well. So we'll be exploring that as the year goes on because it's a little bureaucratic, but it isn't out of the realm of possibilities. So we can talk about that. On May 31st, we held our triennial Parent-Child Center review for the ES at the American Legion. Thanks to David for being here, and Lyle, and let's see, and Dawn was there. We had 33 people in all, and we had really excellent cross-representation of all the agencies that we collaborate with, partner with in the community, as well as some staff members who carried information from the World Cafe event that we held earlier in May to the table. And the results of that review I will email to you. The report is completed. It's a 7-page report. I'm just going to highlight for you that in the beginning of the report, I started first with the 2013 Parent-Child Center review recommendations that we were to be working on for the past few years. So those are listed for you along with the steps that we've taken to address those suggestions. And then I discussed the 3 turn the curve activities, which are results-based accountability activities. Basically 3 questions that are the same 3 that we talked about in the Road Cafe, talking about our under-enrollment challenges in the program, our lack of full enrollment in the home-based option, and exploring ways to retain teachers, because as you know, we are part of that national epidemic where we've lost a lot of teachers in the early childhood field. So what you will see in your review is really a culmination or the capturing the summary of all of those conversations, along with which steps we feel that we can legitimately take forward and the action steps that will be carried forward in our strategic plan. So that'll be coming to you soon. And I think that's enough for the director's report.
Molly isn't here, but
Okay, so right here is
Is
Mr. David
Robin,
Scholes.
David Scholes. Hi.
And
You
so-
have anything you'd like to add, or?
So typically at this point in our policy council meeting, as you see from the agenda, the school board liaison, who is very new to this position,
I
would
did it
generally
a bunch of
inform.
years ago, but.
Oh, okay, so,
different process.
okay, great. So generally, this is the time to inform policy council about the goings on of the school.
Well, as you know, we're sharing with you the pre-K program. I'm not sure, is there anything else anyone wants to add about anything with pre-K or interest?
No, we're gonna look later on at kindergarten, early kindergarten registration.
Well, one thing that I found out from here, that I was more prepared to talk about what happened at the triennial meeting.
Okay, but you can certainly do that.
Well, and one thing that fits into that is that the people, these all people from the Iliad talking about the range of services that are offered and different programs and how they implement them and a lot of the challenges they face. And one challenge I was kind of amazed about is that they can't find out how many babies are born to Brattleboro residents in a given year, because some of them are born in New Hampshire or Massachusetts or maybe at home, and apparently it's very difficult or maybe impossible to get that information, which really surprised me. It certainly makes it more difficult for us looking ahead, and obviously for preschool as well, to not have that number. And so that was something I thought I would really take on as a challenge to see. It seemed ridiculous that, I mean, we're not asking for those names or addresses, just how many children can we have. You know who to call. Rather than things we do.
Great.
But I won't go through, there were, I think, 9 people that spoke, and I could tell you for 20 minutes on what every one of them said. It was fascinating. But a lot of home-based activity, a lot of resources being used, a lot of people involved in it, and I think a really strong sense that people want to work together and want to be a lot more coordinated and be a lot more effective in what they're doing. And was there any, I can't remember exactly, I don't have the, actually I do, comment about it, but that segment was mostly to share that information with everybody, right? Give them
Yes.
for the later on activity.
Yes, absolutely. But what it yielded, and you're reminding me of this important piece that I didn't mention, is that the 9-person panel that spoke to all the different services we do in ES really made the point to the participants that we're doing a lot, as David said, and not most people are unaware of the extent of what is provided at ES, including our own staff members, mostly because we have pretty chronic turnover. And so those are our most valuable constituents, and if we could work toward that end by informing us that the word would be better spread in the community, and we may not be dealing with some of these enrollment challenges. So some of the strategies we're putting in place will be addressing that overarching theme.
So we're gonna move on to old business, which is the future policy council meetings in Westminster.
So do you want to table that, given the fact that we
table
don't
that.
have, okay.
Votes.
So what we typically do is we've been alternating our meetings because we have such a strong representation from Westminster. To every other meeting is in Brattleboro. And the Westminster folks in our last meeting requested that we have all of our meetings this summer in Westminster. Basically that leads to July and August. So we can July is scheduled to be in Westminster.
I saw that in the notes, and given that there are 16 people, parents in Westminster and one in Brattleboro, it seems like smart.
Yeah.
Until that balance changes, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a problem for me, I just need to know what time the meeting is.
Okay, great. Typically, we have dinner at 5, and then the meeting goes from 5:30 to 7:30. And we actually meet at the Sefer building, which is next to our, on Rock Drive.
So we're gonna go to new business, hiring committee recommendations.
So I have a folder full of hiring recommendations, and because we don't have a quorum, I will go through them and we can vet the conversation, and then I will put an email out for an electronic vote tomorrow, okay? So the first is a recommendation that we hire Kim Atkinson as a new teacher in Westminster Head Start. She has a bachelor's degree in human development and family relations and has her Vermont teacher licensure birth through grade 3. She currently is a kindergarten teacher in Rutland, Vermont, and she's relocating to Westminster. And her references ranked her as an above average performer, strong candidate. You want me to just run down the entire slate?
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have a recommendation for Kirsten Ullman to be the assistant teacher. I don't see where this is, so this must be pronounced right. And Kirsten has 15 related college credits, is eligible for the level 2 Vermont's Ed Career Ladder. So if you'll remember, our assistant teacher position is one that we reinstated earlier this year to try and cultivate new candidates who might not be at the level of being a teacher, but by bringing them on with a minimal amount of requirements and offering them college courses and mentoring and that kind of thing. We really want to grow our own teachers. So she's one who fits into that category. And she ranked as an above average performer, strong candidate. And then I think the rest are all, they are 6 that are substitute teachers. Teresa Karpinski. Teresa is known to be the favorite sub of this district. She's flexible, very reliable, and really easy to work with.
You guys all writing this down?
So she's already,
Substitute
oh, yeah,
teachers.
she must already be subs. Is that her name? Okay. Caitlin Toole. Caitlin Toole, she has worked as a day camp counselor, and she's a 2, which means an above average performer, strong candidate. Crystal Walters. Crystal earned 9 college early childhood credits during her enrollment at the Wyndham Regional Career Center. She's worked in our classrooms as an intern, a student intern, and she ranked as exceptional. Abigail Thomas. Abby has worked as a swim instructor for children 6 months to 10 years. She's CPR and first aid certified. She was a 3, meaning exceptional. Natalia Polho. Natalia completed early childhood classwork while enrolled in the Wyndham Regional Career Center. She has worked as an assistant teacher before. She was first aid and CPR certified, and she ranked as a strong candidate, a 2. And finally, Tina Andrews. She is an early ed home-based parent. She has done a lot of volunteering at Academy, where one of her children is a student, and she ranked as exceptional. So those are our candidates, and
We'll vote on this Can you send an email out? How
I
do
will
that?
for electronic voting.
Okay.
Are there any questions or concerns?
No,
Okay, thank you.
they seem pretty good. Program schedule changes for 2017.
Okay. So let's see now. In your packets that went around, you will see a chart that speaks to the under-enrollment challenge that we've experienced this year. And that chart is our response to the Head Start Regional Office's request that we come up with a corrective action plan, so to speak, but that's not what they called it. And this is in direct response to the meeting that we attended in Boston back in May. And on that chart, you'll see that one of the action steps is that we, I'm not sure I'm talking about the right thing, that we change our hours to better accommodate families. Now that's easier said than done because we are sort of constantly trying to juggle that. And if we were to run 7:30 to 5:30, 52 weeks a year, we wouldn't have time for the staff to do what they need to do in terms of all of the paperwork and meetings with parents and doing assessment and documentation. So we've tried to, tried to come up with some way to reconcile that. And we tried that this year, and the hours that we provided were not conducive to what families need. They were much mirroring what happens in the schools, but families are still in that childcare framework now. And so we are proposing a couple of things as changes this year. One is that the hours that our program day will be from 8 to 3. Brenda, is that right? And then we will provide before and after care. So before care will be 7:30 and after care will go until 4. And the other is that we actually will close our program, our classrooms, during the school vacations that happen in December and April. Now, the reason for that is twofold. One, parents have been saying, would you please try and emulate what happens in the school districts with your calendar? And secondly, we historically, even though we really try proactively to manage this, end up, because we do run 12 months out of the year, with the situation that we're in currently, where we are in the last few weeks of our current contract year, and people are scrambling to use their vacation time. So we have a lot of ghosts in the building, but we have a lot of, and we already are operating understaffed with the teachers, and so there's a lot of situations where we have too many subs in the classroom, and or we've actually made an exception this year and paid teachers out for earnings time. And that is not what we strive to do. Teachers, we give sufficient and ample vacation time for a reason. They need to have breaks. And so we're going to try this, or the proposal is to try this, so that there are actually scheduled times during the year that they would take. And this still leaves, even as an entry-level employee, we give people 2 weeks paid vacation when they start. And they also, with things like floating holidays and personal days, end up with another week, because one of these vacations actually has some paid holidays in there. So they still have the option of one more week that they can take another day. So
how closely does that mirror what's going on in the schools with the contract?
It's not exact because the schools don't run 12 months, but it does mirror in that we're closing the same weeks that the schools close for school vacations. Now, we're not closing down the agency, we're just not operating the classrooms, because families still have crises whether they're closed or not. So, the program still needs to operate. So that is the proposal that's on the table.
One question I have, you said to 4. I thought we were to 4:30. And she's closing at 4:30.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
I was gonna nudge it, but I
Thank
didn't
you.
want to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sitting in the windy spot.
So can I go to proposed new ES office position? We don't have the program.
Well, we don't, but you do.
Okay.
I mean, it will need to be
Right.
rather
We're gonna
electronic.
do an electronic
I just
vote.
want to make sure that it's a better conversation.
Okay.
So, are you
I
on board with
motion,
that?
to- yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And now we're gonna move on to proposed new ES
Okay.
office position.
Thank you. So, our office clerk position has been vacant now for about a month, and we have purposely not advertised that as an option at this point, because we, whenever something like this presents, we take it as an opportunity to revisit our needs, and is a time that we need to be updating and, really matching the position to what our needs are, and lo and behold, we need a person at the front desk who has very strong information technology skills, in the sense that our IT specialist is doing the job of two people. And so we would love to have a person with some really strong background in that. And we are going to be launching our new webpage and our new Facebook image very soon, and we need someone who can be really kind of monitoring that on a day-to-day basis and actually updating it. And so this job description proposes changes to the current office clerk position to reflect that. And Brenda, I'm going to look to you to talk about the salary. It's more than the office clerk. Is that correct? Because we're asking for additional skills.
It's going to depend on the level of education versus experience, that combination, as it typically does. But yes, to what you're saying, we're asking for more skills in this person than the current position. So it would be a little higher than that, even with the minimum. The other thing that we're finding with that position is, one reason we have turnover is that just sitting at that desk, because of the door, we have a secure door, so somebody has to be manning that all the time. They feel chained to the desk. They feel like it's prison and they're trapped. So another thing we're doing by adding this other function to it is that I have another person on my staff, and they're going to take shifts there. So with the more specialized tasks, when they're away from the desk, they have time and they can concentrate on that specialized task. So it's another reason we're looking for more skills. And then I have a person that's going to go out to the desk, and they have, again, a specialized task, but there's some duties they can do and manage the. So we're hoping that, again, it's meeting our needs better, but also responding to the needs of the person at the desk.
And what about salary and how that fits into the budget?
It should be okay, because in the past we have hired somebody there with a much higher salary. We're not going to go quite that high. So in the scale, it should be mid-range of what we would expect to do.
So it's on the agenda, sorry, because it's a proposed change, and so we would move forward for that.
Okay.
Oh, the one question I have, wouldn't it be easier, instead of having two people, if we just had, like, there's those iPads that come with, that you could have the person that's still at the front desk, so they don't feel chained to the desk, but still be able to let them in by seeing who's up there, by clicking a button wherever they're at.
Yeah, but we feel very strongly this is an agency that's responding to needs. So when somebody comes in the door, we want somebody there to greet them. So that's important to us.
Okay.
We're gonna take an electronic vote on this. And now our COLA application.
And so we have officially heard that we can apply for a 1% cost of living allowance, which is what we rely on to give our staff increases. And this year, Brenda and I were at a Vermont Head Start state meeting couple of weeks ago with our regional office staff in Boston, who gave us the go-ahead to, all you have to do is send us the application and it's yours, there's no concerns about it. And so we need your official vote to support that, and the 1% cost of living would be reflected in all the staff salaries who are charged to Head Start, well, all the staff salaries. Everyone at EES will get the 1%. Those who are not Head Start or early Head Start employees, it will come from the funds that fund their positions effective July 1st. So that's required, and it also requires a vote, our board vote.
So just to add to what Deb said, that's what makes it my job interesting. We do have the 1% for the Head Start grant, but there's nobody on our staff that's completely a Head Start. We share. So even though I have 1%, and even though we're giving, 1% per what they're telling us, there's a multiplier effect for me. So the government is giving me $25,000 to spread over 70 employees. Well, for them, they only see like 30. So I have 70. So actually, I'm spending a lot more than 25 because, as Deb said, everybody in the agency benefits, and part of our charge with getting this money is it has to impact the salary scale. So people coming into the agency later also are benefiting from the higher salary. But this is something that we do, again, because salaries are so crucial. None of us are making. So I do have a form that I need Jill, you to sign, and Jerry to sign. So before I leave, I will get you the form for your signature.
How far off are we on salaries now? I know we keep looking. If we put this COLA in with this 1% as well.
Well, the 1% is not going to tip the scales, definitely. We still, we made a huge stride this year, and we still have a ways to go. One of the biggest challenges is because we are 12 months, and so when we look at matching the salaries of the school this year, we're looking at a 9-month position. And when we start calculating that out to 12 months, it's beyond what our hands are. But we are hoping to have a meeting very, very soon with Lyle and others to look at how we can take the next step.
So we need an official vote by this board to say that we approve getting the COLA for 1%. Can we have that vote?
So
That is being applied 100% to salaries. We're not offsetting any increases in operating costs, which is another choice. We are putting it all to salaries.
So maybe amend that, put that in the motion to so moved. Need a second? Any discussion about the four of us about moving the COLA 1%? Any discussion? All in favor?
So we're going to move on to other business. If anybody has anything they'd like to say.
I think the only other thing that I have is that you, in your packets, in addition to the chart that talks about our approach toward addressing the under-enrollment issue, you also have a narrative that is the request to change in scope amendment, request to drop our under-enrollment by 10 slots. And that's something I have discussed with the board and with policy council. I wanted you to have the final request that went to the feds at the beginning of June. And that's for your information. Some of you have seen it. I think I may have sent it electronically.
On the monthly report, because again, there's heightened awareness about our under enrollment there. So we do in the monthly report talk about where there is under enrollment, and you can see that there's only, for the center base, there's only 2 slots, and we already have people targeted to go in them. So again, because we're kind of on an action plan, we should highlight that. And then the home base, there's 5 over 30, but this home base number still reflects the full 40 before it's adjusted for what Deb just requested, the 10, because we don't have it approved yet. So when we get that reduction, we would be enrolled, fully enrolled. So.
And the only other thing I have is that the policy council money that we get for family activities, I'd like to put out there that we'd like to do a family fun day on Saturday in July at the Retreat Petting Barn and provide transportation and lunches for all families that we ask if they're interested. So we need to get a vote on that. So we're going to do an electronic vote on that.
If you want to put that together.
I will. I'll talk with Marianne about it. And also we need to try to start working on, because fall's coming up, about the 5K we want to do. If we want to do it in Brattleboro or Westminster, and find out if the high school will let us do it on the track, or if we want to do it in the neighborhood on Third Street. That's about it.
One of the other things I'd like to bring up, because I notice we're trying to advertise our schools, our head starts and stuff. One of the things I think would be a good thing is there's parades all the time. Why have we not tried to get into any of the parades and have some of the parents and some of the kids and stuff with our banners that show all of our school systems that are in play? That way people can see us, and they come from all over, so they would be more tuned to know that we're out there.
I know in the
July
past,
is, they're always looking for people to do
Yeah,
extra
looking.
weeks.
the dedicated dads group, a lot of the times have been in the parade, probably the 4th of
Yeah.
July.
So
So it's just around the corner.
I would say we got the 4th of July parade, we have which just went by, but the strolling of the
Yes.
heifer. That's another good one that brings a lot of people into the town.
Are there things like that in Bellas Falls? Do they
Oh,
have
the
parades?
alumni.
They have the alumni.
The
That's
alumni.
pretty much it.
Once in a while, I think they do a 4th of July parade, but it's called the Old Day
Well,
Home Day Parade, which is
I know Saxon
Still-
River does a little parade on the 4th of July. That's about it. And also, in the fall, after school starts, we'd like to do a fall festival up in Westminster on the field across in the Sefter Field. If we could try to get that starting rolling now, because October comes pretty quick, even though we're in the summer right now. So it takes a lot of planning to get our name out there now. So there's 3 events that we need to start working on.
Okay, so we should carve some time
Yeah.
for our July meeting to talk about
Okay.
that. Okay, thank you.
And our next meeting is July 19th in Westminster. And our portion is adjourned at 4:50.
I did have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Before you interview.
you're out of order.
I am. Is that allowed? Do we have to do something specific? I don't know.
No.
We can start our meeting.
Well, yeah, because it's officially going the whole time. But just looking at the process that we did for pre-K here, and I know I voiced these questions a while ago, maybe February or something, just asking, what is the process? And we said we'd return to it, and we're kind of just going through without ever having established a process, which is perhaps necessary because it's the first time we're doing a preschool in a grade school in our system. But it leads me, so we advertised it out to the siblings, we had the families that came forward and said, and so far as I know, I'm not hearing of any uproar in the community of, I wanted that spot and I didn't know about it, or I should be in it, or now I'm waitlisted. And I think thinking ahead as we are looking at hopefully doing this in others, if I'm a mom or a dad, a family paying for childcare, and suddenly I have this opportunity in my public schools, we're not charging, or we are charging, we can't because it's public school, yes. So suddenly there's a free preschool, and we know that half of the slots are going through this really prescribed methodology that the federal government controls, and very, very specific. And then all of a sudden we have these openings that are, how? I think we have to be more careful as we go forward. to make sure we know how those are open, how we're going to look at who's being accepted. And I don't know
So-
from legal perspectives or anything, but just as a standpoint of how it is perceived in the community.
So
It's a
couple
financial benefit
things.
to somebody,
Right.
besides the fact that we hope it's a great benefit educationally, obviously.
It's a financial benefit for those who can fit into the hours that the program operates, but it's not a financial benefit for those who have a working need. So those folks are never going to be interested in this because we only run the school day. And many, many families need a longer day.
No vacations and no summer.
But if I'm
So-
paying for preschool now,
Yep.
you're going longer than what I'm paying.
Right. So yes, there is an advantage. So if you're thinking ahead, I don't think, and I'm speaking for you, Jerry, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we've had any of that with this turnaround, with this go around. However, and our hope is that this is going to be a premier program and that we will have people knocking at the doors.
Well, you already have a wait list, right?
So our other hope is that
Even a 2-year-old.
once we build on this,
Okay.
we can expand to other elementary schools. And so then that will diffuse some of the competition because we'll be spreading out.
I think it's a great idea because when I went to the event up in the White Mountains, there's schools down in Mass and in other states that are already doing it, and it's working out for those parents and their families.
Right, I think it is going to work out.
Yeah.
So from my perspective is
Because I
more
was telling
about how
them, I
to.
think it should be in every
proactive.
elementary school.
Right.
It'd be great
Well,
if
we
they
don't
would
have
use
room
every
in
one of
here.
them.
There's
Oh, I
there's
know.
nowhere to put the kids, so
Yeah.
everyone's competing just
Because
for
we were
these
like-
small number of slots at a row.
Yeah.
That's your question essentially, right? How are we gonna handle the competition for these slots fairly?
And hopefully we find room somehow to do it in the other schools too, and then how do we do that fairly? I don't know, Andy and Mark, did you have thoughts or comments?
I think a clearly articulated process that we would follow regularly. I think you're right. There needs to be a clear process in place for how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think things like this, especially if we expand, we want to go to a process that we'd create, we'd bring things to you, and then we'd make that public, so that if we have 2 applicants for every slot or 2 kids for every slot, then people know right up front how they're going to get selected or how they're going to get moved on.
So when the committee, Ron, Lyle, Deb, Maureen Young, myself, Janice Stockman, initially we were meeting throughout the winter, kind of talking about things like this. It was going to be this idea that it was going to be an Oak Grove cohort, that these would be the students that would start here and continue on. But we did have, we kind of laid out like what would be kind of our priority list. And so when families are calling, Janice did the reach out to families and providers in the community to let them know with a letter to those providers that this is going to be open, and here were the different priorities that we were establishing, and that for the 7 or the 8 slots that we had that were really considered public, that where the priorities would be. Oak Grove siblings, we had first priority, and then followed by trying to do neighborhood families, and then kind of after that would be pretty much like kind of a lead list kind of thing. But you're right, something probably, but something more formal and through a policy needs to as we move forward.
Okay, I'm adjourned. We are now adjourned for our portions of the meeting.
Yes, I was gonna say, let's take about 5 minutes or so, eat ourselves some food, and then we'll come back and jump into the town school board part. We call ourselves back in, and Kelly, are you ready to?
I am ready.
So I was just
FYI for next year.
All right. So actually recognize any guests. And of course, policy council folks are still here. And Bobby, do you want to introduce yourself today?
I'm just a college student. Right now I'm taking an online course, a political science course, and essentially I have a big culminating project due in a few weeks, and just part of it is I have to interact with the government in some sense, and this could be writing to like a legislator or a senator or something, or like attending a town meeting or just like a city council meeting. And I'm actually like training to be a teacher. I'm going to be student teaching in the spring coming up, so I just thought I'd pick something that's kind of close to home, something that I can relate to, because I've never been to a school board meeting or anything, so it's pretty interesting. I've never known how things get done or decided upon or who's on the council, so I'm just pretty interested in finding out all about it. And that's kind of why I'm taking notes over here, not really saying much, but nice to meet you all, if I haven't met you already. Thank you.
Welcome.
Nice.
All right, so we need approval of the minutes. This is the May 24th meeting and the May 31st meeting. They should have been distributed to everybody.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or? Good. And also need to have a motion on approving the warrants as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the warrants? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Did you pass these to
Aye.
Steve so we can sign?
Spoon, here's some
I didn't
warrants.
sign those either yet.
I know, well, you have your hands
We're
full.
good with that.
Okay.
Dave's like,
Right.
somebody outside.
And-
It only needs 3,
Oh,
so
okay.
you're good.
And we're gonna go around and do some administrative reports. I guess Mark, you're on the end, so we'll start with you.
Okay. Send my report down. Oh, there's enough copies for everybody.
May as well send one over to Bobby. That'd be interesting to him. Okay.
Yeah.
Send one back.
So you're one for Bobby.
So at the conclusion of the report, I have a couple of candidates to bring forward as well. I don't know if we want to do it then or later in the meeting. So as you have the report there, basic statistics that we go over each month on the first half. So I'd like to direct you to actually the page 2, the second half of the page. Top portion, you can see all the number of different field trips that took place towards the end of the school year. The spring is always crazy busy in the schools. Schedules change, routines change up, there's lots of activities happening. But those are the field trips that took place. Our town school theater partnership with Oak Grove and Academy and NEYT had their performances on the 26th and 27th, and that was at the NEYT Theater, open to the community. So that partnership continues to be thriving for the schools and NEYT, and hopefully we'll be continuing that work into next year. Johnny Flood, who we've been working with directly, is actually leaving NEYT. So there'll have to be some work this summer with Andy, Jerry, and I working with the new leadership over at NEYT to continue the collaboration. Some of the major ones I'd like to point out, school-wide events. We had our 5th annual Tulip Trot on May 13th. Very much successful once again. At this point, we've netted over $12,000. And again, all that money goes towards enrichment activities for students, winter sports, and others. Big moment for the school this year is we took on doing our school musical. So our first school musical in a number of years. And we performed Disney's The Lion King on May 18th and May 19th. Evening performances open to the community. And then we did a day show on the 18th for the school. And it was terrific. It was really felt like just a great moment for Green Street. Really well done. Kids who have never been on a stage before just shined. We have highlights of it on our website, pictures. We can't have the actual production on the website. But it was just tremendous feeling for the school. And we're committed to doing that for years to come. So this morning actually had a planning meeting with Julie Ackerman-Hovis, our music teacher, and Miss Mo, the school secretary, and starting to frame out the dates of when we're going to perform that next year already. Some other events. Each year, the 6th grade dives into the Civil War, the study of the Civil War. And for a number of years, we've had a living kind of outdoor museum up at the Crow Lot. This year, we changed things up. You want to speak to it, Mary?
Sure.
Mary actually led the charge, and I'm going to give her some time to talk about what they came up with. But there's a terrific article in the Reformer today, which really captured what was put on really well.
Who wrote the
Did
article?
somebody in the school write it and send it in?
Nope, we had a reporter and a photographer come, and it was a really great experience. So the museum is always a hit. People come and check it out, and Matt Nykirk, who is the other 6th grade teacher, wanted to do something different. He's been doing it for a while. So we got a green screen this year at Green Street, and we thought, well, let's use the green screen and we can add some backgrounds. So the kids take on that project. It's about a month and a half long. They research, they learn, how to take notes, how to do research, they gather all the information, and they wrote a kind of a narrative paragraph about a scene or a topic, and then they performed a silent film kind of movie. So it was nice because we could direct them as to what to do as they were acting, and then we recorded their voices and we put the voice over the scenes, and it came out really cool. It was a big hit. We had the whole school, we had a red carpet, we had the kids set up in costume during the premiere, and we really made it a big deal, and the kids were so proud of themselves afterwards. It's on the website, so you can check it out. It was a lot of work, but it was definitely worth it. And I got an email from a parent of a 2nd grader today, and she said, my daughter still watches it on the website, and she's learning something about the Civil War every day. And so
It's really well done. It's a really well done documentary. If you have the opportunity over the summer, check out the website and give it a look, because it's very much professional looking. So they just did a tremendous job with that. We had our 6th grade graduation on June 13th. Great night. And then the last thing I'll just share is we typically have an end of the school year rock and roll day. We changed it up this year. We called it the year-end school sing extravaganza. And essentially it turned into a talent show, variety show. And a number of student performances, a number of staff performances.
I wouldn't say talent.
Mary and her partner in crime in 6th grade, Matt Nykirk, did a tremendous rock ballad that they performed, a Whitney Houston song, to the school.
Is it on the website?
And it is
It
on the
is
website.
on the website.
It was, we were down in the gym for like 2 hours, and everybody loved it. It was just a great way to celebrate each other, celebrate all the accomplishments of the year. And we concluded with kind of a video of all the different things that happened throughout the year to music. And it was just a nice way to culminate all the accomplishments of the students and staff of the year. Now as we head into the summer, the last thing on the page, facility updates. As you know, we've got a ton going on at Green Street this summer. And we're diving right into that starting yesterday, really. That's it.
All right. Sure.
So, we have the May and the June report. So if we take there should be 2 together.
If you would pass out the same time.
We have two. Did you keep two? Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought each
Oh.
one, two different rooms.
There should be a May and a June. You want both of those? You need both.
I need both.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always take one.
Oh, this is, and that's a
Oh,
cat.
this is separate.
Yeah, it's coming back to you. So just like Mark was saying, at Green Street, the end of the year, May and June, on the backside, you'll see that school-wide events and field trips are very busy. A lot of trips to our science collaborative partner to Beak. Each classroom had received up to 7 hours of time with Beak to contract either to take students to the Environmental Ed Center or to have them come here, and some classes like kindergarten and first grade, it was a combined. They were coming here to the school to do some science work with them, and then also taking them over to the Environmental Center over in West Beak. So there's a lot of that going on in May particularly. The 4th and 5th graders took a trip to Mount Pillier, which is a very successful trip. The 5th graders actually were asked to find a bill that was currently in the House and then kind of create their own little bill, and of course, and then present it to the legislature members up there. And one of the bills that one of the students worked with came down and talked to me about, what about like a bullying harassment bill? So we brought out our district policies. We talked about the policies and went through it and like what type of what's in our current policy. But then we talked about, in the policy, it refers to education, mandatory education for teachers and staff, but it's a recommended educational component for students, but it's not mandatory. And so she kind of did some more research on her own, and as the bills were being kind of proposed, that one actually caught their eye. That's not what the students voted on. The students voted on for like longer recess and things like that. But that caught their eye and said, hey, I think we have something there. So she was pretty proud of herself, as she should be. June 9th, we had our annual family picnic here. It was one of those nights where I thought about Ron Staley having to make the call for the snow days. It's like we have a bouncy house, and they're like, well, if it thunders and lightning, if it rains a little bit, we shut it down and we pack up and we go home. And so it was kind of raining a little bit. Anyway, we ended up having a bouncy house inside. It turned out to be a beautiful night like it is tonight, but it all worked out. We had a big crowd. We ended up running out of food, so we made a lot of notes about what we need to do for next year to make sure we have enough. The other thing is that we had applied for a Vermont Reads 2017 from Vermont Humanities Council grant. We received that grant. We will be receiving about 40 copies of the book Brown Girl Dreaming, and part of our grant was a collaboration with our family partnership and kind of diversity. So we plan on doing some book group with the adults in our building, as well as other community members, and with our 5th and 6th graders. So there'll be opportunities for the 5th and 6th graders to read the book and reflect on it in the classroom, adults to read, and then at night we're going to do some book group discussion, and then also do some collaborative work with everyone's books, and possibly some poetry slam down at everyone's book. So lots of different things that we're hoping will come out of that book. It's a collection of poetry. If you haven't read it, it's on my summer reading, but I've read parts of it, and it's it's poetry, but yet it reads very much like a novel. So, Brown Girl Dreaming. The other thing is that I mentioned probably 2 months ago, I brought before the board a letter of concern, concern about our fans that were on the outside of the building, that in order to access them and prepare or to do any maintenance on it, you had to go into the neighbor's yard. They very, very noisy when they're turned on. Anyway, we had that whole system replaced. It was an old, outdated system anyway. It should have been replaced a long time ago. A lot of times what was happening is that they were just doing repairs on it, hoping it would be fixed. This time, I said, you know what, we can't have letters from our neighbors at 3 o'clock in the morning because our fans are going off and it's rattling and waking them up. So we did replace that whole system, and actually the neighbor came outside and was kind of watching what was going on. They said, are they going to be quieter? And we said, do you hear them? And he says, well, I mean, when they're on. I say, it is on. So
It's usually different.
so they're pretty happy about that.
Keep us both asleep.
And then I also have a did you do a recommendation for hiring in your report?
No, I don't know.
Oh.
We'll do that
So,
after
I
the
guess
report.
Are we gonna hold them and do them?
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll do all of them.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, so, the dust has begun to settle. Our report came around, and you can read that later on this evening when you have some free time. Right before bed, it'll help you get sleep. So, lots of closing out activities, as you know, field trips and graduation and so forth. And I think at all three schools, our kindergarten, next year's kindergarten class, the orientation began today. We run today, tomorrow, and Friday, 3 half days for next year's kindergarten
Is that,
students.
it used to be SCAMP?
No, SCAMP is entirely different. So this is kindergarten orientation. It's always been called that, but SCAMP is another
And that's
another thing.
I can talk about that.
Yeah. And that's not, so this is, so the kindergarten students are coming into their next year's teacher's class. So, for example, at Academy, Maureen Parzik's students came to her today. So it's, you know what I mean? So it's a preview for those children of what kindergarten will be like.
It's a couple hours.
It's 3 hours, yeah. So it's an ongoing thing. This is not a new thing. We're also busy hiring, as you know. We do have a teacher for recommendation today, and we've been hiring paras, or begun to hire paras. And I want to remind you that some of the paras we're hiring right now are through the Antioch program. As you may recall, I think it was in January, Deb Cardane did a presentation I think it was right here, in fact, in the gym at Oak Grove, about, we were trying to start an intern program with Antioch. We've been able to get that off the ground. We've hired 2 interns. So these are adults who have a bachelor's degree, typically in education, who are at Antioch, or will be at Antioch, getting a master's in education. They want to be teachers. So rather than doing a typical student internship, we're actually going to employ them as part-time para educators. So they'll be employees all school year, and they'll be getting supervision and training, and we'll be doing para duties as well as doing some teaching. So it's
And they're still officially students as well.
correct. Yep. So we have 2 already on board. We're close to a third. I want to point out that this is cost neutral to the district. So there's no, right now, it looks like there'll be no additional cost for us to incur.
And Andy, how many, did we say we're gonna take 4 or 5?
We said we could go up to 4.
And so how many are applying? Is it really, are there a bunch of people over at Antioch that are thrilled about this and excited? Or?
Well, there are a bunch. There's, but Antioch operates a little differently than we do. So in order to apply, of course, you have to be an Antioch student. And it looks like we'll have four people right now that are interested. We have one who's pretty close to committing, and and then another one who is still debating. So the first thing they have to do is decide they're going to go to Antioch, and that deadline for decision is not till July 1. So as far as the Antioch is concerned, these two folks still have some time to make up their mind. So, and if they decide not to go to Antioch, of course, then they wouldn't be eligible to be interns for us. But it's worked out really well, and again, will be cost neutral. And one thing I would ask that tonight, at some point, the board consider giving us the authority to hire in the summer, because I think there'll be some other positions in our schools that we'll need to fill, teacher positions that we'll need to fill quickly before the board meets again. And when this gentleman from the EES Policy Council talked about the parade, I just want to point out that we do have a banner that actually we fly several times a year above Main Street, right outside of where I think, guess what Duo is. And it's the Brattleboro Town Schools. It mentions Oak Grove, Green Street Academy, and Early Ed Services. And that couldn't get up there for Strolling of the Heifers. They changed, you have to reserve your week well in advance, and they change on Sunday. So we got Strolling of the Heifers was on Saturday. We were up for the next 7 days.
And that, by the way, cost us nothing as well, right?
To hang the banner costs us nothing. The fee is $150 per week, but we were able to get that waived in lieu of the land.
The land we gave for the fire department.
Yeah.
Like build the fire department. Town swapping.
If we get waived for 1 year, or is that?
I asked it's waived
Forever.
in, what's the word, in perpetuity?
I believe
I'm
the
not-
fire department is sitting there in perpetuity.
Yes.
Right, exactly, that's my point. So we shall see, however, but they were very, the chief was very amenable to that. So I just want to point out, musicals, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Green Street's now doing musicals, and it's a great community to do that kind of thing in, and especially with NEYT. And so we've been doing it for several years at Academy, and this year for the first time we actually had a class, a 5th grade class, Chris Spilo's classroom, studying the American Revolution, and her class put on a musical. It was, I guess you could say, our version of Hamilton, and they put that on one day last week, and for the whole school and parents. It was quite a great production. Particularly impressive because this was a class. This was not all the drama goes on, and it takes 3 or 4 months to put on a musical production, and it's all after school. Kids come in on Sundays, and this was just class. And what's really amazing was a lot of the students, parents told me that a lot of students were home and rehearsing on their own, rehearsing their lines. And Mark's daughter Eliza, who has developed in quite the young actress, was one of the students in it. So it was a great thing.
It was terrific.
I'm really proud of the arts in our schools, and all the drama and the music programs are really phenomenal. Facility update, we are doing a number of things. We're going to talk about a playground very soon. Corey Frazee is here to help that presentation. And just want to point out that we do have a bid out for our fire panel. It's the same exact panel that Green Street had that was faulty. Ours is also faulty. So we have a bid out to replace that, and that will happen this summer. Thank you.
So we're going to pass it on to Lyle, but I was going to say something about Ron's last meeting with us because this would be his last time. But Ron is not here.
Well, he is here.
He's over at Guilford instead of us, so I guess we've had our last meeting with Ron. So welcome to Lyle officially in the new capacity in 5 days, 10 days? 5 days?
I've been saying, call Ron until July 1st.
But
don't
you're
take
here.
him off speed dial yet.
You're here.
So SCAMP was a question. As you may know, through the news, the federal budget is very up in the air. And SCAMP is paid for through the federal budget. Looking and working with the principals, we decided we needed to prioritize teacher salaries. And so anything that wasn't absolutely tied to teacher salary, we needed to cut back on for this summer until we're more certain. SCAMP actually happens right away, so it was one that we could not count on funding this year. So SCAMP generally happens for students entering kindergarten, and we try to do it like the beginning of August, but with funding unsure, we felt like we couldn't count on it this year. And Frank is very, very careful about not spending money if we don't have it, and we don't have it yet. So. A couple of other things. I have a letter of resignation from Craig Roach. Craig is a Green Street school teacher, asking for his resignation to be employed as a principal in Townsend Elementary School.
So we have other one?
I have another one, but we should probably do this one first because the other one we're going to talk a little bit more.
Okay, so a motion to accept that resignation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, of accepting with regret?
Aye. So the other one is a request for a leave, for a 2-year leave of absence from Green Street School. As some of you may know, Chris Day is doing a special military assignment. He is an assistant principal at Brattleboro Union High School. Mary Kaufman has been offered that position, and Mary has a letter here asking for a 2-year leave of absence. I'd like to read the letter, if that's okay. Please accept this letter as a request for a 2-year leave of absence from Green Street School as a 6th grade classroom teacher. My leave will be effective June 30, 2017, as I will be pursuing a position in administration as an assistant principal at Brattleboro Union High School, BHS. It has been an absolute pleasure to work at Green Street School and the Brattleboro Town School District. I'm so thankful to have had the opportunity to be both a classroom teacher and a leader within the school. If there's anything I can do to help in preparation for next year, I would be happy to do so. Please let me know. So I would ask for a motion to accept a 2-year.
Doesn't say anything about coming back.
It's kind of
Can we get that in there too?
well, so maybe if we have a motion, we can have that.
No, okay.
No, because I have the same
Oh.
question how that works. So a motion?
Move to accept.
And,
Second.
and so the discussion, that was my question too. How does the leave of absence work? Does that mean we guarantee her job back if she wants to come back? And
Guarantee her a
it's just
position
timeframe.
back at the school.
A position back, and Mark, when he's hiring, will let people know that this is not a permanent position.
And you have to let us know, Mary, by a certain date? Is that, like...
There's a date in the contract
Yeah.
that says when on leave you have to, if you want to come back, you have to notify the district that your intention is to come back.
By a certain point, okay. So then any other discussion?
I'll just say, I think it's a really proud moment to have 2 teachers nominated and be asked to have their first principalships this spring. So I'm really proud of the work that Craig and Mary have done over the last few years to earn these positions, and specifically to Mary, who worked very closely with over the last 2 years and mentored last year. Just so proud of her, and that BOHS is really lucky. She's going to do a phenomenal job up there.
So that means Green Street is out 2.
6th grade teacher and a 5th grade teacher. This was like bang bang in like the last 3 weeks of school. It's like, okay, but I have some candidates to propose.
So shall we vote on that? Any other discussion? All in favor of Mary's 2-year leave of absence to go over to the high school for a while?
Okay. And the last thing I have is, this is the year 5 of the 5-year contract for food. Nothing has really changed from last year, except that we have added an amendment, which I will just summarize for you, that We are working to eliminate the following ingredients from all foods served in Brattleboro Town: corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated oils, trans fats, pre-cooked, processed, and mechanically separated chicken, including nuggets and patties. And we've also asked to increase fatty acids, omegas 3 and 6, by integrating flax, walnuts, almonds, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds, egg yolks, shrimp, tuna, grass-fed meats, whole muscle chicken, and then dark green leafy vegetables. And then there's a list. And whole grain foods. There is a provision in this that we will not pay more than what we budgeted, just so you know. But as I said, this is year 5 and a 5-year contract, and next year it will go out to bid again. So I need your approval.
We'll take a motion and have a discussion, yeah? Do you want to do the motion?
Yeah, okay, I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Second.
And go for your discussion.
What if the program costs $41 more? You wouldn't do it?
We would not pay more than what we've agreed in our contract.
Well, may I speak?
Sure.
So it's not a program in a dollar amount and neither or. So it's and we began to implement these changes this school year. So as we do that, we meet and there's some trade-offs, and you have to look at costs when we're dealing with certain food products, for sure. So it wouldn't exceed that amount, but it doesn't mean if we don't exceed that amount we would get nothing, or if we exceed it we would get everything. You know what I mean? So there's a likely to be a menu of things that we would.
It just sounds like they're kind of a diet in which there's a lot to be gained.
Absolutely.
So if there was a little extra cost,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed worth it. But you're making it sound like it's just inflexible, that's it. They just won't get as much as they could because of a budget constraint.
Well, I don't know what I don't want to hear, but in this present school year, we increased the contract and what we put in substantially, and it was 30,000 or 38,000 additional, and we also recouped by going to free universal breakfast and lunch. We recouped the amount of money that parents didn't pay. And that was running anywhere from 10 to 18,000 a year that we had to write off. So with universal lunch, no one pays. So we've saved that 10 to 18,000. So in addition to that 30, we recouped that. Does that make sense? So there's additional. So that money, parlayed into $40,000, provided us the opportunity to make substantial changes over the last. The second half of this past school year, and we'll continue to do that.
Will you report back at some point next year on how much of that diet you were able to actually incorporate?
Yeah, we've already, most of what Lau just said, we've already done. We've totally banned high fructose corn syrup, the mechanically separated chicken, that's gone. Hydrogenated oils like in peanut butter and so forth, we've eliminated that.
Sugary yogurt.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've done a lot already.
All right.
So it's just a continuation of what we started this year, I think is.
And I think we will, to your point, Spoon, it's a good one of what, do we hear back on this or whatever? I think we will hear more during the contract bids, and that's one of the things that they come back and talk to us about.
And we've met, we being Brattleboro Town principals, Kira Sawyer-Hardigan, who's been overseeing this, Frank Rucker. We meet with cafe services, talk about, so you have this choice or this choice, this is how much it's going to cost, so that we are keeping an eye on the budget throughout to make sure that we're getting healthy food and we can afford.
Niall, just one question. I know you were talking about adding more walnuts and things like that, and as a parent of a child with severe allergies, that's it's kind of a little frightening, more walnuts are being added.
Your kid is toast, that's
Yeah. My kid is actually out of the system now, but.
well, no, because we keep extensive a database really on all of our students who have allergies, and we have significant number of kids with allergies. today, whether it's from mangoes, citrus, peanuts, fish. It's a significant number, and it's something we have to manage. And so those kids are identified. The classroom teachers know, the cafeteria knows, and it's a management thing that we do. We work with our nurses and the food service manager to do it. Right now we don't. We only have a few kids whose peanut allergy is such that that no one in the classroom can have peanuts, for example. So we're fortunate to that degree. Where there are some students, and I forget the levels, there's different levels of peanut allergies, for example, that no one in the classroom could have peanut butter. For example.
Oak Grove's a little different. Oak Grove, nothing comes out of cafe services that has tree nuts or peanut butter. So we only offer some butter and jelly. We've allowed families that if they're going to put in like peanut butter and crackers, peanut butter and jelly from home, then the students can have that in the cafeteria in only designated areas, but nothing in the classroom. So all of our classrooms are nut and seed free, and everything from the cafeteria.
And a big difference in the two schools is that we don't have a central eating place. So we don't have a cafeteria. Our kids eat in the classroom. So to some extent, it's easier to control that than if we had one central eating place.
So Miles, the fifth year budget start where this budget ends? Is that 38,000 that Andy mentioned in the total that's going to be available for next year, for this coming year?
I can show you the budget, but I can't answer your question.
Okay, well, another time.
Yep. I mean, Frank.
Because it would be if it weren't, that would be a pretty significant difference.
Yeah. According to Frank's message, the food costs went down, the revenue also went down. So it's been pretty much cost neutral.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? All right, moving on from there.
So can I suggest, since we have 15 minutes, that maybe we prioritize what's left and get to the things that we have to do?
We are.
First? Great.
So, she still has some notes from her summer schedule. Was that?
Yeah, but we can do it here. This we definitely need to get to because principals will have to hire, and then I just want to make sure we have our summer schedule.
So we'll come back to it. All right, so then we're gonna move, jumping over unfinished, down to new business hirings. So we get those done?
Yep. So I have two candidates, send around resumes. The first one I'd like to propose is Kaylee Sear. And Kaylee is offered and has accepted the 2-year position. However, that's going to take place in the 5th grade classroom. So Kaylee has been working this year as a special educator at Green Street School. So we've worked closely with Kaylee. She's really done a really bang-up job for us this year. Really wants to stay at Green Street, applied for the 5th grade position, and overwhelmingly was our top choice for that position. And then the second nomination is Courtney Perkins, who will be coming to us from the Dover School. She's worked there for 3 years now. And without a doubt, heads and shoulders above the other candidates, was our top choice.
You know why is she wanting to leave Dover and come here?
We have hired a friend of hers, so she's heard all about the school. She's done some research. She kind of seeked us and is interested in joining our community. So that was nice. And super impressive in the interview. I think she will be a really great addition and kind of takes the sting off of losing somebody like Mary.
Thanks, Mark.
Come through if you'd like.
I'm not sure if we're in the right place.
Yes, you're in one board meeting going to another. That's fine.
Okay.
So,
So
anybody?
Courtney's recommendation would be for the 6th grade position.
Okay. How about if we take,
Listen to all of them.
yes,
Yeah.
can we take, Oak Grove, had anybody? Yes.
Yes, so my nomination for Jen Torville was sent electronically to you. So you should have received that from Jill. Jen has been working in the district for 7 years. I'll even back up a little bit, that again, the committee had two people from Oak Grove, myself, Maureen Young from EES, Janice Stockman, and Lyle were on the board. We had 2 rounds of interviews, interviewed 7 candidates, including 1 Skype interview. Had a couple of people come in to do some practice lessons with our kindergarten class. So we really wanted to make sure that we were doing it right. And so I'm presenting, again, Jen Torville. Jen has been working in the district as our school psychologist and has her degree in early childhood education, or endorsement in early childhood education. And so I would like to nominate Jen Torville for the pre-K licensed teacher position.
And we have a 6th grade position, and you received it via email for Sarah Morse. She recently got her master's at SIT, and prior to that she had taught in the Peace Corps in Micronesia for 2 years. She interviewed with us, and we had her teach a 6th grade class that we observed, our 6th grade class, one of ours, and I think she's going to be a really fine teacher. So she is our recommendation for 6th grade.
Okay. I'll need a motion for all of these.
So moved.
Second? Robin?
Second?
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Can you guys give us a quick rundown on who is left to be hired that we would be giving permission for? If we...
At this moment in time, we just have a para position and possibly 2 para positions.
So paras we don't normally approve, so there's nothing that we'd need to give you special permission to hire without board approval as normal.
Right.
Jerry?
At this time, the pre-K still has a collaboration with Head Start for the associate teacher. It's more Head Start than it is for us. And then, of course, any unforeseen teachers that might be leaving during the summer. But at this point, everybody seems to be staying put.
We have anticipation that we could have 2 openings in the near future.
For classroom teachers, or certified staff.
For licensed folks, yes.
Okay, so I need a motion, and I think you can make it narrow, that it would be, maybe I'll even make the motion. Can I make a motion? Is that allowed?
Yes.
Yep. So how if I make a motion that we give permission to Mark and Jerry and Andy to hire any unforeseen needs that crop up that need to be immediately hired for certified staff, and specifically for Jerry and Deb to move forward with the pre-K Head Start teacher, assistant teacher position. Does that cover it for everybody? Second to that motion?
Seconded.
And any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So,
If I would,
Yes.
if they come to be, I would be happy to send all of you an email.
yes, we're all around by email all summer, no matter what. So we have Corey here about
Yes.
playground, and I'd like to look at that since Corey's here.
Andy, do you need help setting up?
I just want to plug the computer in to.
While we're doing that, I had year-end numbers on for new business. I think we covered that. Year-end numbers with the monthly reports. Should anybody else have any thought of why we have year-end numbers on there? Cross that off. next agenda items.
That's for our retreat.
Right, at the retreat, I know that Barb gave to you perhaps something that Spoon had found.
Yes, data, so we can talk about that.
Data, do you wanna, could you give me copies? So maybe we could pass out the copies. I don't know that we have any time to talk about them tonight, but we could all look at this. And then we'll pass that on to the reports, or for the next agenda.
And also, I wanted to mention the thing that Dave sent around about the all-day seminar on gender affirming, is that what it was called?
Yes.
Gender affirming schools.
There's two?
There's 2 pages of that, we messed that up.
Oops.
So Spoon Agaves, what do we call this? Kids count profile?
I saw mine online, so.
And
Do you need that? Just-
gender affirming schools
Okay.
comes from Robin, and we'll put that on for our retreat agendas.
So that's one packet.
This is one packet for
What was resolved about the gender, early
Just
gender?
that we would put that on the
Discussing it
agenda?
It
next-
happens before the next meeting. It's August 8th, and our next meeting isn't until later.
Right.
So
So then,
what I would
thought
ask
we were
is,
just gonna do a discussion, so if there's something else, I mean,
I'd like to look into it. We aren't gonna be able to talk about it. Look into it, and if it seems like it's something that's valuable and that would be of value to us, I'd like to be able
are
to
you
go.
planning on going?
I'm hoping to go.
So how about if you go and then we bring it up at our retreat and discuss what you heard?
Okay, but you need to approve me going,
Oh,
because there'll be a, I'm sure there's a fee.
Going as a board member.
I understand that now. I was confused. So how much is it?
I don't know, I looked it up.
Do we have a budget for that sort of thing?
Well, it's next year, if that helps.
It's next year's budget.
Yeah, I'll second.
Well, I don't know how to handle that. We don't know how much, and I don't know if we have.
How about,
Just another check.
I explore and contact Lyle to see if there is, because we have a line on the budget too, but I'm.
That you go as long as it's within the budget, just have your motion, basically?
Okay.
Does that work for everything? A second on that? Any discussion on that? Does that work for us all? All in favor? Aye. Spoon, you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so kindergarten early request, was there anything on that? Were there any?
Early request?
When she said second on it, not seconds.
Oh, I do.
Okay, can you do it right?
Can we do it right now? And then we're going to playground, sorry, Corey.
Yeah, we can't say the name.
We have one early request. Brian Bittner did a test of early literacy with this child, and overwhelming recommendation to the family and to me was that he's kindergarten ready. Is kindergarten ready, yeah.
So then we usually make a motion to accept the recommendation of staff. And discussion, all in favor? Aye. All right, look at that. So the only other thing that's unfinished is the code of ethics
And the Act 46.
and the act update, which is gonna happen right now in a few minutes. So that's really the update on Act 46, is that we came up with a list of questions and they're going to be addressed by some state folks. So I'm gonna move that VSBA code of ethics also to our next meeting. And let's go with playground.
Oh, we also have to talk about the executive committee for the SU at some point, so that should go on to the next agenda as well.
All right, we didn't have to report back yet because we're not meeting yet. Yes, Andy, go.
Okay. So first of all, I want to introduce Corey Frazee. Corey, most importantly, he's a parent of 3 students at Academy School. He's also, a civil engineer with Stevens and Associates.
And a volunteer.
And my assistant basketball coach.
Volunteer, yeah. Assistant coach, 4-win science. So Corey's very involved with children in Brattleboro. So Corey's been great and has given hours and hours and hours of his time to help us get this project off the ground. And in a minute, he'll take over and help with the presentation. So we started last year, and the board in our budget gave us $30,000 to replace a plastic playground structure in our playground. And We had anticipated at the time that the structure would actually be somewhere in the neighborhood of $42,000 to $45,000. And the 30 was to cover most of it, and then we would try to raise money through parent, with help of parents for the additional. So as we began to investigate this, to find out what state of the art in terms of playgrounds and playground structures for students, elementary age students, in this day and age, really began to discover that the plastic structures are beautiful, they're wonderful, that we learned that we wanted to go in another direction, and we wanted to go in a more open-ended play structures that would allow kids to use more of their imagination, to be more creative, and where the plastic structures tend to be that they're considered to be closed-ended in that each feature has just one thing it can do. So if there's the bars, the rings that you swing across, you can do that. Each one is limited. So we began to realize there's a lot of research out there that says that we could do more than that. So we moved on, and then we discovered that given what we're doing at school and given our facility, that the best option for us would be a natural playground. And so we began to explore that. Corey's been a big help, and we actually enlisted the support of a landscape architect. And so we put together a proposal, and we got 4 different landscape architects to respond, and we met yesterday with one. So we have a rather large committee of folks at Academy School, which parents will be on. There were no parents there yesterday, however, to actually do this. So the area we're looking at is that oval right there. You can see the white A shape. That's Academy, and coming up this wing, you see that area right now, which is really not being used. So our intent is to build a natural playground in that area. And oops, if you could just scroll down on that. Yeah. Just going to look at it. That's what it looks like right now. So this would not interfere with anything presently at Academy School. It wouldn't take away from anything. It would only be in addition to. So because the area that it is now in is not being used. So if you just want to scroll to the next one, please, Corey. Yep. That's what it looks like right now. Our property line is the stone wall, and as you can see, it's really not usable for my kids at this point. And so we would be going from that stone wall about 60 feet toward the playground. So what is a natural playground? What does that look like? So if you want to scroll down, you can go right through that one. That's just another version of that. Now you can just go through several. Yeah. Don't need to go through those. Go right down to some of the
images.
The images, yeah.
Yeah.
So, these aren't necessarily things that we would do, but these are kinds of things that one does. We probably wouldn't have logs in the ground that would be quite that high, without nets. But things like this climbing wall over here. So the idea is to build this thing. These can be enormously expensive. The architect that we began to work with, they wanted at Crocker Farm in Amherst for, I think it was like $256,000. We'll be a tad under that. But what we're looking at, we would be looking to use an awful lot of materials that are presently on site. Or we would get donations in kind from people who cut down trees in the community. Perhaps farmers would have boulders that they wouldn't use. And we would be building things that resemble some of these things here. Okay. So the committee is giving input in terms of the kinds of things that they'd like to see in here. There's enormous variety of things that one can build into these kinds of playgrounds. To also cut costs, we would have a build day, for example, in the fall. We would invite community members and parents to come while the architects are there to help us actually construct much of this. You can see some great musical features. This is a dirt pit or a mud pit. Both sides of this, where we want to put it, is on both sides there's a stream. There's a significant stream on one side. Well, it's usually not significant. It was quite significant.
A little too significant.
Days ago. It floods the entire playground. And then there's a smaller one on the opposite side. And so it's just, a built-in natural water feature for kids to utilize. So, Corey.
You want me to jump in and talk a little more about the budget and the phasing?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see some low-cost ideas here just by using existing trees. The landscape architects were up in the woods and they were looking at some trees that we might be able to save. The trees that we cut down we might be able to reuse. It's Berkshire Design out of Amherst, and I was really impressed with the two people that came up to meet with us. So they're totally on board with working to our budget. We're talking about phasing this over 2 years so that we can establish the base of the playground this year, generate some excitement, start some fundraising around it. They're going to work with us on a graphic. Do you have the example? Did the example come through on this?
No.
Okay, so they've got what they call a master plan, which will give us ideas, put ideas on paper, and give us something that we can use for fundraising. And they had a lot of good ideas when we met with the committee about how to do low cost, use donated materials, and again, with phasing this over 2 years, we'll do something this fall with the budget, and then what we'd like to do, and you should be speaking of this, but what we'd like to do is get some more funding and then work with them through next year so that we can potentially expand, and we'll separate out portions of the playground. So we might build half of it this year and then have these ideas generated in this master plan for future ideas, again, based on the funding and the fundraising that we can do. Anything else you want me to touch on?
No, that's good, thank you. So the initial part of the budget, the 30 we have right now, a significant portion of that's going to be eaten up by big, heavy machinery that would have to come in, cutting down some trees. Trees would be saved to either give shade or to be used as features. And but there's a lot of we'd have to have excavators in to really create the slope that we want and so forth.
One of the things the committee had consensus on doing a slide like this. So let me find it. There's a slide built into the hillside. There we go. Everybody really loved the idea of that slide. So we need an excavator to come in and contour the earth, move some dirt around. That slide would likely be a year 2 improvement if the money was available.
This is great. I'm glad you brought in pictures because Andy mentioned it to me and I was like, oh, I need to understand what that is. So we are being called and being yelled at already because they're waiting on us over there with those folks. So at this point, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
I just asked, so what we would like at this point, moving forward, would be the board's blessing that we could continue with this concept. And we will work diligently to get donations, gifts in kind, organize labor parties to build
So
it.
at this point, you have the blessing already of $30,000, right?
Yeah.
So are you asking for a blessing of up to a certain point or just?
Now that we would come back, but it's likely to be straightforward with you and up front that I'd be coming back when we build next year's budget to ask for additional funds that would go with what we could raise.
Or by consensus feeling like that's something to move
Yes.
forward with?
And we'll be
Yes.
specific about that amount of for.
So yeah, I think we're on board with the general concept. Love, I'm speaking for us all, and you all break in whenever it's wrong. That we like the natural, we like the idea of using what's there,
Extends
And
what
then-
your kindergarten people are already doing.
and with
Yeah, that's
the and
perfect.
with the parent involvement. That all of that. If you can get rid of ticks, that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chickens. We could put chickens back. Hey, a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Yes.
And-
So
yeah,
moved.
so moved.
Okay.
Second.